The next 6 months will likely see another wave of supply chain disruptions that hit closer to home than most Americans are ready for. While headlines may not scream about it daily, the slow grind is already underway. Warehouses are thinning out, freight is being delayed, and critical sectors like agriculture, electronics, and medicine are already warning of bottlenecks due to port congestion, labor shortages, and international instability. For preppers, this isn't just background noise, it's a flashing red light. Consider this: what happens when a component made in one foreign country is delayed by weeks or never arrives at all? That affects everything from car repairs to home heating systems. If we're relying on a fragile international web to deliver essential goods, what happens when that web frays even more or snaps entirely? We saw this play out during COVID-19 and to a lesser extent in 2022-2023. But now, instead of recovering, the system is stagnating, and the next 6 months may bring more cracks, especially if global tensions continue rising or another round of sanctions or conflicts breaks loose. Grocery stores are also feeling the effects. Certain food items, especially imported ones like coffee, spices, or specialty grains, are at risk of sporadic shortages or steep price hikes. Even domestically produced food is vulnerable when fertilizers or farm equipment parts can't be imported quickly. This can mean fewer crops harvested, fewer products reaching shelves, and higher prices for whatever does make it through. If you're not storing up now, you might find yourself paying double or going without later. Preppers should respond to this not with panic, but with quiet urgency. Do an inventory check. Focus on long-term shelf, stable food, critical household goods, and backup systems for things you rely on every day, like water filters, batteries, or spare parts for essential tools. Think not just about food, but about anything that depends on global shipping: replacement glasses, prescription medications, pet food, even printer ink or canning lids. Even if the full collapse doesn't happen, the squeeze will still be real. Prices will rise, wait times will get longer, options will shrink, and the people who took action in advance will ride it out while everyone else is scrambling. So take these next 6 months seriously. Watch what's vanishing from shelves, talk to local suppliers, stock up not just for emergencies, but for the slow burn that may already be underway. Because by the time the news finally catches up, it'll be too late to get ahead. Civil unrest is no longer a distant possibility, it's becoming a recurring reality. In cities across the United States, tensions are rising over political division, economic stress, cultural clashes, and the growing sense of government overreach. As we move through the next 6 months, the likelihood of protests turning violent, law enforcement being overwhelmed, and local infrastructures becoming unstable is not just possible, it's probable. Preppers must be mentally, physically, and logistically ready for these scenarios before they escalate. Look at recent years. Major cities saw riots that lasted for days. Small towns experienced flash protests and confrontations. Even quiet suburban areas weren't immune from spillover effects. As elections draw nearer, financial pressure mounts, and public trust continues to erode, the perfect storm for conflict is brewing. That means blocked roads, empty gas stations, closed stores, power outages, and overwhelmed emergency services could hit your area faster than anyone expects. Preppers must think beyond the bug, out fantasy, and instead focus on realistic lockdown strategies. Can you safely and comfortably stay in your home for at least 2 weeks without leaving? Do you have blackout curtains, a way to cook without electricity, and a communication plan if cell towers go down? These aren't optional anymore, they're urgent. You also need to understand your neighborhood, who lives around you, who can you trust if things go sideways, who might become a threat out of desperation. Strong community ties can be a shield, But blind trust in strangers is a liability. Quietly develop a network of like-minded people. Keep a low profile, but be prepared to defend your home if necessary. Also, rethink your routes. If you need to move through your city during a protest or riot, you need backup paths, safe zones, and an understanding of local terrain. Relying on your phone for GPS during a crisis is a mistake. Keep printed maps, know your surroundings. Finally, emotional resilience matters just as much as supplies. Civil unrest is stressful, frightening, and unpredictable. Fear can paralyze unprepared minds. That's why mental readiness, practicing calm thinking, scenario planning, and staying focused on solutions is crucial. The next 6 months could test not just your gear, but your grit. If you've been delaying your security planning or assuming things will calm down, this is your wake-up call. Prepare now, because once the unrest begins, the time for quiet prep is over, and the only thing left is survival. The economy is wobbling like a table with one leg kicked out, and most people aren't ready for what comes next. Over the next 6 months, we're staring down the barrel of rising inflation, job insecurity, housing instability, and potential supply chain failures. For preppers, this isn't just about watching the news or complaining at the gas pump. It's about making hard decisions now that can secure your future before the bottom falls out. Prices on essentials are creeping up, sometimes overnight. Groceries, fuel, rent, utilities, everything costs more, and wages aren't keeping pace. That pressure squeezes families to the breaking point. If you're not already stockpiling long-term food supplies, rotating shelf-stable goods, and reducing your dependency on daily purchases, you're behind the curve. 6 months from now, what costs $20 today might be $35, or unavailable altogether. Then there's the job market. Layoffs are hitting tech, retail, logistics, and even healthcare sectors. AI is replacing workers in some industries, while others are shrinking under automation and outsourcing. If you're employed, assume that could change fast. Create an emergency fund, diversify your income streams, and start thinking about barterable skills. Not just side hustles, but real, useful knowledge like repair, gardening, security, or first aid. Those are assets in a downturn, even when money loses value. Housing is another stress point. Evictions and foreclosures are back on the rise. Renters face sharp hikes, and homeowners with variable interest rates are feeling the squeeze. If you're at risk, now is the time to either downsize, get ahead of payments, or plan an exit strategy. Having a backup place to go, even if it's rural land or a relative's property, can be the difference between shelter and homelessness when a sudden job loss or inflation spike hits. The economic slide also affects your prepping supplies. Prices for solar gear, water filters, ammo, radios, and even basic medical kits are going up. Get what you need now. Buy smart. Prioritize multi-use tools, durable equipment, and bulk items that won't spoil. And if your budget is tight, buy small but buy often. A can of beans a week is better than nothing at all. Remember, economic collapse doesn't come like a thunderclap. It comes like a slow-motion train wreck. The signs are already there. You can choose to watch the crash or start building your lifeboat now. 6 months from today, you'll either be surviving with a plan or stuck scrambling with the rest. One of the most unpredictable and escalating threats we face over the next 6 months is civil unrest. Tensions are high. Trust in institutions is at a record low, and one flashpoint, whether political, economic, or social, can ignite protests, riots, and dangerous confrontations in major cities and small towns alike. If you think it won't reach your doorstep, think again. This is not fear-mongering, this is pattern recognition. Look back at recent years. We've seen entire cities shut down, curfews imposed, supply routes blocked, and ordinary citizens caught in the middle with no warning. As a prepper, your goal is not to be caught off guard when unrest breaks out. It's to already be out of the way. The number one step you can take is situational awareness. That means staying informed, not just through mainstream media, but alternative channels, police scanners, local alerts, and real-time apps that show civil activity. Knowing where a protest is forming, when roads are closing, or when emergency services are overwhelmed can mean the difference between being trapped and getting to safety. Urban areas are the most vulnerable. If you're living in or near a city, now is the time to reassess your location. Are you near government buildings, major highways, or high-density residential zones? These are often hotspots. If relocation isn't possible, then harden your home. Reinforce doors, secure windows, install security systems and lighting. Make your property a hard target, not inviting for looters or opportunists. Mob behavior can change quickly. 1 minute it's peaceful chanting, and the next it's smashed storefronts and burning vehicles. If that chaos spills into your area, you need to be ready to go or ready to defend. That means having a bug-out bag packed, a safe destination prepped, and your vehicle fueled and ready. It also means legal, responsible self-defense capabilities, and the training to use them with calm and clarity if absolutely necessary. Communication can break down during unrest. Cell networks get jammed or taken offline. Have backup radios, coordinate with trusted neighbors or community members. A small, reliable group can share information, trade resources, and offer protection in ways a lone individual cannot. Civil unrest isn't a someday scenario, it's already part of our national pattern. You don't need to panic. You need to prepare quietly, confidently, and thoroughly, because when the crowds form and the fires start, it will be too late to wish you'd taken this seriously. You'll either be watching it unfold from a safe distance, or trapped in it without a plan. One of the most overlooked but absolutely critical concerns for the next 6 months is the growing instability of global supply chains, particularly those connected to food and medicine. What was once a background issue affecting only prices is now turning into an outright crisis in availability. Whether it's droughts affecting crop yields, geopolitical tensions disrupting shipping routes, or continued labor shortages in logistics and trucking, we're heading into a period where store shelves could look shockingly empty in very short time frames. As a prepper, you must understand that the just-in-time delivery model most of our economy relies on is fragile. Grocery stores carry about 3 days' worth of food on the shelves. If panic buying begins again, or if transport routes are interrupted by natural disaster or unrest, you may walk into your local store and find the essentials, rice, canned goods, medications, completely gone. When that happens, it's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Now is the time to build up a home-based inventory of shelf-stable foods. Don't rely solely on MRE or prepper packs. Build a real-world pantry: rice, beans, oats, powdered milk, peanut butter, flour, and canned vegetables. Rotate your stock. Eat what you store and store what you eat. That way, you know the food is familiar, usable, and not wasted. Add in vitamins to compensate for limited fresh food during extended disruptions. Medications are even more sensitive. Over-the-counter pain relievers, allergy meds, and cold treatments are already being flagged for intermittent shortages. If you or someone in your household relies on prescription drugs, talk to your doctor about 90-day supplies or alternatives. Herbal backups aren't a full replacement, but understanding basic herbal remedies and having a small medicinal herb garden or apothecary cabinet could be a game changer. Don't forget hygiene and baby products. Diapers, feminine products, soap, toothpaste. These tend to disappear quickly in emergencies and are often last to be restocked. Keeping 6 months' worth on hand isn't extreme, it's responsible. Another issue tied to supply chains is the availability of spare parts, especially for vehicles, heating systems, and electronics. Even something as small as a broken water pump or a dead battery could cripple your preparedness plan if you can't replace it quickly. Consider backups and repair kits for critical systems, including filters for water and power inverters. The next 6 months are a warning window. Use this time not to react in fear, but to act in wisdom. Build your reserves while the shelves are still full, because when they're not, you'll be among the few who don't have to fight over the last can of beans. One of the most important steps you can take in the next 6 months is to develop a strong, self-reliant mindset and a community network that reinforces your preparedness efforts. It's easy to get caught up in gear, food stockpiles, and tactical checklists, but if your mental resilience isn't sharp and you're completely isolated, you're vulnerable, no matter how full your pantry is. Mental resilience is what allows you to make decisions under stress, adapt when plans fall apart, and stay focused when fear and chaos take over. As the country moves deeper into uncertainty, whether it's economic instability, political tension, or the growing threat of civil unrest, those who stay calm and clear-headed will survive and even thrive. Begin building mental toughness by placing yourself in controlled discomfort. Practice going without power for a day, limit water use, or simulate a bug-in weekend. These exercises reveal emotional gaps and help you build confidence in handling the unknown. Equally important is the human element. No one survives completely alone. Building trusted relationships, what preppers often call a mutual assistance group, gives you shared skills, eyes on more threats, and backup when you're compromised. Start small. Identify neighbors or local friends who share even part of your concern about the future. Exchange ideas, share tools, and train together if possible. A tight-knit group of 3-5 reliable people is more valuable than 50 strangers with gear. Community also applies beyond your inner circle. If chaos breaks out, your reputation matters. Are you seen as a helpful, resourceful neighbor or a paranoid recluse? Those perceived as valuable contributors to their communities are less likely to be targeted and more likely to receive help when needed. Think in terms of skill, sharing, and service. Do you have medical knowledge, gardening skills, mechanical ability, or even first aid training you could use to assist others during a crisis? Use the next 6 months to build those bonds and refine your role in the bigger picture. You might be the water filter expert in your group, or the one with food preservation knowledge. Having a defined role builds confidence and ensures everyone brings something to the table. Lastly, don't forget your family. Communication plans, emergency drills, and clear expectations prevent panic and keep everyone working together. Prepping isn't just about gear, it's about people. The best gear in the world won't help if your household breaks down emotionally or can't work as a team when the pressure hits.